Yeah.
So let's play a game. What? But I still think it's an interesting conversation.
Wait. Sacks or quarterback stat.
Oh, hell no.
Still got a few more to go.
Slow down, baby.
That's fair.
Finish him, Daddy.
Additionally,
Do you want to guess the last two?
No, it's my turn. Because of how dangerous he is with his feet.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
And I think there's an interesting conversation.
No, God. You know, that's just the nature of the beast in this business.
Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome to Hashtag Sports. Now, my name is Paul. You may have seen that we were briefly live for a moment, and then that is gone. Well, we're here now. Welcome back to the show. If you caught the 18-second version of what we were doing in the first place. Here, we are reviewing the Bills. What I guess I can only assume to call a wildly forgetful game in a 26-7 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Probably easily the most forgettable first half of football that I would like to. I mean, I would much rather, forget that this game ever even happened. Wild experience of a game. I'm kind of glad that it's over. Buffalo did come out with the victory with Josh Allen, 123 passing yards. And anytime you see that, you know that it was it was an adventurous game. So welcome to the Hashtag Sports post-game show. We will be joined by Ryan here in just a moment. Actually, there he is. Hey, my dude. What's going on?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Hey, what's up? So thank you so much for joining, Ryan. Listen, I think I am one of many here that is totally happy to forget that this game ever even existed. I think if memory serves me correct, Rodgers and Allen combined for under 40 passing yards in the first half. If I'm remembering that correctly, Allen 123 on the day. I think Rodgers, I don't even think he threw for 140. No, 117 on the day. Yeah. And listen,
250 yards combined between the two.
Yeah. And I mean, and you would think that this game, they played in 8 feet of snow, right? Like, I understand it's Bills in Pittsburgh, but like normally those instances have a tendency to be games where you just kind of drag it out in the snow or in the rain. It's a messy game. Weather was not a factor here, right? This was just, to me, it was really ugly football. And it seemed like at times almost felt like a preseason game, right? Like, I hate to say that, but I want to call this the Hashtag Sports post-game therapy session because I think we got to exercise some demons here. And what from this game is your biggest takeaway moving into next week?
I mean, I think it's tough to have a takeaway from this game, right? Because it was so like, it was just an ugly football game. I mean, this is the type of football that like Mike Tomlin wants to play. And it's also the same type of football that like Sean McDermott thinks he wants to play, right? Because Sean McDermott forgets that he's got Josh Allen as his quarterback. So he's got like, and we heard about this friction between him and Dable when Dable was here, right? Where Sean was like, let's run the ball, keep my defense off the field, keep them fresh, let them make a play when they need to make a play. And Dable, by and large, was like, yeah, but we've got that guy at quarterback. Like, why would we run the ball 50 times a game when I can just let him go do his thing? And there created some friction there. And, so I think McDermott really wants to play this style of football. Like, this is what he would prefer his football games to look like. The problem is like, when you've got Josh Allen at quarterback, like, can he flick it on and flick it off? Like, if a game gets tight, like, if that game would have gotten tight, like, can Josh just turn it on and, like, go sicko mode? Or is that something that he needs to kind of, like, establish early, have some early success? Because he didn't find a lot of early success, right? And, so I worry that if this is the style of ball that they're going to try and play, like, is that a recipe for success when Josh Allen's your quarterback? And I'm not sure that the answer to that question is yes.
I think Corey comes in with a great one. Real Naval Academy football here.
I mean, the only thing that was missing was the wing tee, right? Like the triple option was ready to come out on that day. Yeah.
Do you remember the South Park movie? You watched South Park movie, right?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so what would Brian Boitano do?
Yeah.
So I read Shivas puts this comment in. I think it's something. I mean, every Bills fan is going to say it, right? But I sang this as, so what would Brian Dable do? Like, instead of what would Brian Boitano do? So what would Brian Dable do differently? I think it's fair to mention you played this game with a really banged up Connor McGovern. I mean, really banged up, and no starting tackles. So to come out relatively unscathed, I think is a good job, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that the Bills did anything negatively here. I think you should celebrate the fact that they they were able to run the ball as well as they did, but that's the part of the game that you expect them to be able to do with replacement tackles.
Yeah. I mean,
Running
and that's the game.
is
That's the game
something
style
that's
you want,
exactly
right? Like that's what you
right.
want to do when you've got 2 injured tackles and
Exactly.
you've got 2 reserve guys. One of them,
Right.
Alec Anderson, who's never played right tackle before, or at least hasn't played it since college, right? And then if one of those guys gets hurt, like your reserve, Gramble just came off the IR, right? So like you did not want to go into a situation where these guys were having to pass pro 40 times in a football
Right.
game, right? So what do?
Right.
You line up, hat on hat, and you just say go forward, right? And that's what those guys like to do in terms of playing football. You don't need to worry about schemes. You don't need to worry about Josh sliding protection. You don't need to worry about communicating blitzers. It's just line it up, go straight ahead, and let your talent, like James Cook being the talent, like just let him go do his thing, right?
Yeah.
So I understand the game plan. The concern that I have is like fans who look at this and go, well, they could just run the ball anytime they want, and then they get against a team that's good. Like, let's not fool ourselves on the Steelers. Right? This is not a good football team. Like, they are not a good football team. They've got J.J. Watt, or T.J. Watt, one of the J. Watts, and they were starting a cornerback in Asante Samuel, who was off of IR on a terrible knee, leg injury not a week ago, right? Signed off the street. So, like, this is not a good football team. Like, I don't care what their record says, they're not very good right now. So when you run the ball, and I mean you even saw it in the post game, right, with TJ Watt, how frustrated he is, where he's like, I've never seen a team run the same play so many times and find success. I mean, that's what bad football teams do, right? They give up plays like that. They give up that duo concept where Cook just kept bouncing it outside and they had no answer for it. So I understand the game plan. The concern I have is like, are they going to use this as like this is how we're just going to plan to attack going forward, and kind of get lost in the muck that starts to get created by these ground and pound type football games when you got a quarterback who can throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns on any given football game.
Well, Ryan, I want to pull back because we were at the Chiefs game, and I seem to remember Buffalo running the same running play over and over and over again until it got stopped. And the difference here is that Pittsburgh had no answer. Like, I understand that it's important to go back to the well, but you beat Pittsburgh, you beat Kansas City, right? But the common theme is you found a play that they couldn't stop, and you just keep going back over it and over it and over it again. And Buffalo did that against Kansas City with the screen game as well, right? Like but they tried running a screen early. Pittsburgh had that sniffed out. I mean, so early in the first half.
To their credit, they didn't go back to it, right? So
and they never went back to it after that, right? They looked at it and said, nope, can't do it. So those are the types of things that scare me a little bit, right? Is they're so schemed for each game that the moment that a play doesn't work, now it's scramble mode, right? Like they blew up a scripted screen in the first half and you never saw it again. Now, mind you, right? They, after the first half, were pretty much in control of this game, right? So Pittsburgh walked away with 9 first downs, 10 first downs. Like they really weren't effective at all the entire game outside of the first half. But I do think it's important to call into question the fact that the screen game has been a primary part of your offense, and one gets blown up in the script and you just never go back to it again, right? And how often and how many games are you going to have, specifically in the playoffs, where you just can't run the same concept over and over and over again? That will not work against playoff football teams. And I understand, like, the Chiefs are having a bad year. They might not even make the playoffs. The Steelers right now were in first, and now they're looking outside of the playoffs, but they were in first in their conference, or first in the division when we played them yesterday. So
yeah, I remember doing this show
first in the division with the near losing record.
Yeah. I mean, we did this show, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, Paul. We were talking about a race to the 1 seed between Buffalo, New England, and the Steelers, right? Like, I remember having that conversation.
Sure.
And it's like the wheels have just come off since then. Yeah, I mean, you are going to win football games if you can drag teams down and you can play in the muck and you can keep the turnover differential equal or plus, right? It was equal yesterday. It was net zero yesterday in terms of turnovers, but you capitalize on your 2 turnovers, right? The 2 turnovers you force, you come out with points on both of them. Whereas New England, They don't, or I'm sorry, Pittsburgh didn't come away with any points on either of the turnovers that they forced against Buffalo.
Right.
That's a recipe for victory. The Steelers were 3 for 9 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down, right? Like, you keep teams at a 30% clip between third and fourth down conversion, you're going to win football games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this was the recipe for, this was like a playoff football game, is kind of how it felt to me. This was like
I like that.
Win at all costs, right? Like, we're hurt, we're banged up, we're injured, we don't want to put our guys into a situation where they're going to beat themselves, so let's just line up and just run forward and see if they can stop us. And if they stop us, we'll adjust. If they don't stop us, we'll just keep running it. And they kept running it. And Aaron Rodgers is, the oldest player in the NFL, and, like, he looked like it yesterday, right? Like, I think Mario was the one that shared the meme in the group chat where it said that by the end of the game, like, Aaron Rodgers looked like he just tried to rob Kevin McAllister's house. Like, he was just, like, the stocking cap with the bloody nose, and, like, he was just all beat up, like so. I mean, Buffalo did what they had to do, right? They got one big play from their defense, which was the fumble, scoop score, and they got a, I think I saw a stat where it was like a minute 23 later was the interception. And, like, when you think about that in the context of, like, a game script, right? You were down 7 at the time that scoop and score happened, and then now all of a sudden you're up 17-10. Like, huge game swing there.
But you're a Mason Rudolph away from that game being closer.
Absolutely.
But again, like, that's football. To Naveed, to go back on the point of what we were just talking about, said if you run the same play all the time, you're putting nothing on video. That's not my concern. I understand the schematics there. What I'm saying is there have been times where this team has depended on a play working over and over and over and over and over again, and kind of becoming, like, beholden to that. Like, against Kansas City, that at times was their only offense, was running the same run play over and over again. So, it's not only about keeping that play successful, but also figuring out how to capitalize on that. And that's, I guess, the biggest part for me, Ryan, is once you have a play that they can't stop, why can't you capitalize on that, right? Like, that's where an offense should really be taking a step forward. You kill to have a play that they can't stop, but you should also be able to make other plays near unstoppable by having a play that they can't stop. And again, like, I understand that game quickly got out of hand for Pittsburgh because they just kept losing offensive possessions, but you only put up 26 points against, in my opinion, defense. You could have, at the beginning of the season, you're like, oh, we'll hang 40 on them. Like, we'll hang 40 on them. There's no question.
Yeah, I think what you put on film is that duo play is really, really successful when they can execute on it. And I think what you try to do off of that now, as you head into Cincinnati, where you might need some firepower to win a football game, and then heading into New England the following week, right? Like, what you hope to do off of that is you start to run play action off of that look, right? You start to run, whether it's a counter, you run like a counter trap off that duo, and you go left versus going right, or you just run a straight play action, whether it's a show and throw, or whether it's a boot off of the handoff. I think you look to try to do some variations off of things, because what you don't want to do is lose the core of, like, what's working, right? And that play's working. That play's been working all season long. It's just, how can we now find variants off of that play so that we can show that look, make them think that this is what's coming, and then how do you capitalize off of that? But then the big question is, like, who do you have on the back end that's going to capitalize on that, right? Like, who do you have from a receiver perspective that's going to capitalize on those opportunities? Because my worry is that they don't have that guy who's going to capitalize off of those types of plays, and it's going to wind up being like a 7-yard out to Dawson Knox that, ultimately when you show those play actions, you really, really need to get chunk yardage off of that. And that's been one of my concerns, is that do they have the guy that can go get chunk yardage off of those play action passes? Because they haven't shown it so far this year.
I mean, Ryan, listen, Brandon Cooks is maturing into this offense. He walked away with...
Adam Thielen's a free agent after today,
he walked
right?
Away with one reception. Like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he only saw 17 snaps, right? Like, Cooks, as much as I hated the signing, like, is he probably, like, the third best receiver on this team? Yeah, but that's an indictment on your team, not necessarily on Brandon Cooks, right? So, like, Donnie brings up a good point in the chat, right? Like, it's not like you're throwing tunnel screens to either side of the field, like, consistently until your head falls off, right? Like, they at least got away from that, which was nice to see, because in the past, I feel like 2 games ago, like, they would have gone back to that tunnel screen, like, multiple times.
100%.
before finally abandoning it. They saw it once and they were like, we're good. We're just going to go back to the run.
Right. Yeah. I think they did set up a fake screen later in the game.
They did. They've been running some variation off of those screen looks. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of like moving forward with, closing out the book on this game, Bill's run defense, I mean, Jalen Warren at 35 yards rushing? Like, their most dynamic runner was Kenneth Gainwell. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you. Like Gainwell seemed more dynamic with the ball in his hands than Warren, but I get where they're going.
Yeah, but Gainwell, take his stats, right? Like he had 1 carry for 9 yards, and then he had 4 carries for 11 yards thereafter, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when it comes to like takeaways, like we've talked about Sean McDermott, right? And let's rounding this defense into what it's gonna look like to close out the season to head into the playoffs, because let's not get it twisted, right? Like the Bills are still like better odds than not to make the playoffs. Like they're still in the driver's seat. They win, they're in. They probably need some help behind them, right? Like they can't afford, like you have to root for Houston now. Like you got to root for Houston to win football games because they're going to
put some pressure
out of there, right?
Yeah.
But you can't root for them to win too many games, right? Because they're also the ones chasing you with a tiebreaker when it comes to that 7th seed, right? So they got to be careful there. But I think like when you look at good takeaways, like it seems like over the last few games, like we talked about it in the show, it seems like Sean has figured out kind of his like defensive secondary rotation. Like you saw a lot more Cam Lewis this time around. Like he had, he's kind of settling right into like that 25% snap range for him, which is kind of a different type of look. You're starting to see a little bit more Jordan Hancock. You're starting to see, a little bit more Max Hairston. So I think they're kind of finding their way there, and it seems like they've worked out like the defensive line rotation, which is the other thing too. Now, how does that change with Bosa? I don't know. Like, it sounds like he's got a calf injury. We don't know what that's going to look like or how long that's going to last. I mean,
why not, right? Why not?
Right? Like, what's one more soft tissue injury to add to the list for this team? But,
yeah,
I mean, I think if you do take a positive away, it seems like the defense has kind of found its stride a little bit, and they're a little bit more into kind of like, 1 play, 2 plays a game. Other than that, just like bend, don't break, and they seem to be settling into that role.
So Shivas is in Texas. So thanks, Shivas, for going and cheering on a losing Bills team every time you go. The Bills have yet to win when Shivas attends a game. That's lovely. Thanks so much for that. I do want to point out that the Steelers had the ball for all of 18 minutes and 1 second, and this stream is about to hit 18 minutes and 1 second in about 6 seconds. So this was the entire possession time for the Steelers over the course of the entire game. You just simply don't win football games like that. Like it just doesn't matter. I do want to talk about Terrell Bernard versus Shaq Lawson in the middle, though, because here we are again. Where Shaq Lawson, Jesus, listen to me. Sorry, old habits die hard. Shaq Thompson in the middle. I do want to talk about Shaq Thompson in the middle, though, because now that Bernard has been out and missed enough time to be able to compare Shaq Thompson in the middle versus Terrell Bernard in the middle, doesn't it feel like this is going to be an uncomfortable conversation soon? Like we all know that once Terrell Bernard is healthy, he's getting the dot, he's going right back in. That's their guy, and that's going to be what happens. However, Shaq Thompson he's been really good in the middle. Like he's been really, really good. And at what point do you have to have the uncomfortable conversation because you just look at the splits and say, like, it is very clear, in my opinion, Shaq Thompson is outperforming Terrell Bernard right now. And that health aside. So when they're both healthy, what do you do? And when do you actually have to make that decision on what to do? Because it took them long enough to figure out the secondary rotation. I feel like we're kind of getting back there with the linebackers. Yeah,
and I mean, the problem is, you're not supposed to lose your job to injury, right? Like that's a thing in the NFL.
Yeah, I know.
Bernard's a captain, one of 2.
That's what I mean.
For the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, the resume's long, man. It's a long resume.
Yeah, I mean, but you can make the argument that what's best for this defense is Shaq Thompson gets 100% of the linebacker snaps, and you see a really good rotation between Milano and Bernard at that off ball linebacker position, and just like give me 50% of the snaps each and like 100 miles an hour, and let them just come downhill or off in coverage. Like Thompson's not great in coverage, right? Like he's got good instincts, but he's a little slow off the ball. So there's like ways to like kind of capitalize on that, that athleticism that you get from the other two. But I also think like Dorian Williams again. Like let's not forget about that guy, right? Like he saw 19 snaps yesterday. Yeah. And I thought he played fairly well. So like how do you kind of I don't know how you kind of slice that situation, because 19 snaps, he had 2 tackles. Like that doesn't happen on accident. But
Donnie's comment has me rolling. Like linebacker-sized linebackers are good.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when there's like a linebacker-sized linebacker out there, right? Like, so I mean, I think Shaq Thompson, they do have to have a conversation internally. I'm sure these are happening, right? Like, what do we do when Bernard comes back, when he's healthy and ready to go? Like, But I also think that there's probably some vets, and maybe Bernard himself, like there's some vets that are in that locker room that are like, listen, like, ego aside, like, we've seen Jordan Poyer take a relatively large step back in terms of what his impact has been on this defense, since he joined the team. He's been kind of taking slowly but surely steps back and taking fewer and fewer snaps.
Well, I think that also showed you the condition of the team when he got here, right? Yeah. That he could come in and be an impact player. And now, again, like, guys, there are times where you forget that he's on the team, right? Because you're seeing Jordan Hancock in there. You're seeing like it's a parade of players on the back end right now, which I understand keeps players fresh. And the one thing that I'm kind of concerned about is I do think that at some point McDermott's going to say, nope, we've got our guys figured out now. We're going to roll with our best. And this rotation that we see that does keep players, fresh at times, is going to dry up. And then you're going to see a game where Trey White's taking 85% of the snaps. And, you're going to see games where, like you're going to see that snap count creep as we get closer to the playoffs. That does concern me a bit, because, again, like this team has never proven that when push comes to shove, they're not going to put their guys out there on every snap all the time, the entire game, going into and through the playoffs. Like it's what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing I would say is that, Taron Johnson is a good example, right? Like if you look at Taron Johnson's snap count since he came back, right? He missed weeks 9, and 10. He came back week 11, 73% of snaps. Week 12, 69% of snaps. This week he was 49% of snaps, mm-hmm. right? Like, or I'm sorry, 58% of snaps. So like his snap count has come down significantly. I would say, for a guy who signed a big deal, not 2 off seasons ago, right? Like, so I think what they're seeing is that as these guys start to age, and I joke around about it a lot, right? Like I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. I think like that hopefully is the mentality that they're starting to take with some of these guys, like just getting them out there, like, hey Taron, like give me 60% of snaps, and you get your rest, you get time to kind of reacclimate, like but give me 60% of snaps at full go, and like these guys aren't thinking about taking care of their bodies and taking care of like avoiding hits or like any of these things. It seems like the tackling has gotten better over recent weeks. Like I just kind of feel like it's like the NBA concept of like just workload, right? Like work, like load balancing. And if you're putting your studs out there and your studs are pushing 30 or in their 30s, 100% of snaps is unrealistic throughout the course of an entire season.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So you got to put these guys in positions to be successful, and that's what that coaching staff, that's what their job is. And I think they're doing a better job of that from a snap count perspective. Cam Lewis is seeing more, Max Harrison's seeing more, you've got Dorian Strong that's starting to see more, like these guys that are getting or not Dorian Strong, Jordan Hancock, like he's getting more snaps now. So like I think they've got to figure it out through load balancing, because they cannot say with a straight face like our starting defense is going to have a combination of Trey White, Jordan Poyer, Taron Johnson, Terrell Bernard, Matt Milano. Like that can't be a thing come week 18 in the playoffs. Like it just can't and be sustainable.
Right. Well, I think that's something that Buffalo has done very poorly in the past, is they play their guys 100% of snaps, and then you look around, you're like, where's our depth? You know,
Right.
like like this is what you
Well,
need
it's
to
the
do
old
to
adage
develop
too.
your
Like
talent.
you don't want guys having to step in big moments, like in the playoffs, when that's their first time stepping into a big moment all
Absolutely.
season, right? So
Yeah.
like you got to get these guys into games, meaningful snaps now, because when shit hits the fan in the playoffs and Taron Johnson goes out with a concussion like he did against Kansas City,
Yep.
last year, like
Hmm.
you got to have somebody that can step in and play that role and
Right.
isn't getting directed where to stand and who he's got in the cover and what the checks mean. Like
Yep.
you've got to get these guys live game action, and I think it seems like they're doing a better job of that this year. I don't know if it's because of injury or what, but I think that bodes well for the playoffs as they start to get ready into that mode of playoff football.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just cautioning to expect the 100% snap counts to be coming soon from who they feel their
Yeah.
best is, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean
but then,
that's the flaw with
yeah,
McDermott, right? Like the flaw
yeah,
with McDermott is I
right,
trust my guys.
right.
He trusted them, which is why he kicked away with 13 seconds left on the clock, right? Like that goes back to that decision. Like that
Hmm.
is, I trust my guys. That's why he punts on 4th and 2. That's why he kicks long in 13 seconds. Like that's why he does all the things because he
Hmm.
trusts his guys and he knows they're going to go out and make a play.
Well, even against the
And
Steelers, there were moments where I was like, "Oh man, come on, let's just put the game away, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
let's just put the game away. Let's stop being cute to draw an offsides on 4th and 10. Like,
Yeah.
let's
You're gonna go, right? Like
yeah, right, right, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, let's look at now that we've gotten kind of past the Pittsburgh game. We have Cincy who's coming to town with a fresh Joe Burrow, and Cincy with a stunner this week. Um, and they're a team that has to win out. Like they're in win out mode. This is the only prayer that they've got is if they win out. And they're a tough matchup for Buffalo. They're always often a tough matchup for Buffalo. Of course, the combo between Chase and Higgins, it doesn't seem like either of them have been on the field all season at the same time, and certainly not with Burrow. I think week 1 was the only week that they were all together. I don't even know how long that lasted. Chase Brown ran for 160. Let's see here. Chase Brown, what did he put up last week?
78.
78
on the ground last week. Yep.
Yeah.
15
I mean,
carries.
it is one of those moments where Chase Brown, again, like you kind of bargain shop at running back, like since he had to make their choice, right? So they went with the young guy, and I understand that. But a 4-8 team, this is a good 4-8 team. And like
It's a
if you're looking at
4-8, right? Like it's a 4-8 team that was 3-0 before Burrow went down. I think they lost 9 of 8 or 8 of 9 when Burrow was out.
Yeah,
right?
as they were going through the cavalcade of who the hell can play quarterback for us this week. Yeah, I mean,
so they started 2-0. So they started the year 2-0, but they beat the Browns and the Jags.
Yeah,
and then after that they lost, whatever. But they won one game. They beat the Steelers, and they lost every game beyond that. But that was all without Burrow. So
right. Well, and Trey Hendrickson has been out with the hip, but at any moment he could come back, and he is a game changer. T. Higgins was out with a concussion, so we imagine that he'll be back against Buffalo.
Yeah, that was a nasty concussion, though. I don't know if anybody's like he was out on the field, out on the field. When he got hurt, and he didn't even. I don't even believe he that was a C.J. Stroud-like concussion to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like Stroud didn't practice at all the week after the concussion. So it's going to be interesting to see like the walkthrough stuff tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Like what does Higgins' situation look like? Because if he's a DNP tomorrow and or Wednesday, like
Wednesday's the big one to me.
Yeah,
Wednesday's the big one to me.
If he doesn't practice Wednesday, he's not going. So.
Right. But here it is. And Paul comes in. McDermott has never beaten Burrow. Yeah, that's true. Unfortunately, and there's two sides to every football, right? There's offense and defense. So can this Buffalo defense keep up with Cincinnati? Well, I say keep up, sort of tongue in cheek, right? Because again, we haven't really seen the Cincinnati offense unfurled, right? Again, you could say that was this most recent weekend that you finally got to see Cincy being Cincy, but that was without T. Higgins. So, I'm not sure,
Yeah, look, I
right?
mean,
it's a
and
1
and
o'clock
Vegas,
game. Like they have
Vegas
more
doesn't even
rest than
believe in
Buffalo.
Cincy.
Like I'm kind of iffy on it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Vegas doesn't even believe in Cincinnati, right? They don't even think Joe Burrow makes that much of a difference. I mean, but Cincinnati's coming in at 6-point underdogs this weekend, so the Bills are 6-point favorites. Like, you get a point and a half or so for being the home team, right? So they think this is a touchdown game, and I'm not convinced. Like I am cautiously optimistic with this football team at this point going forward. They can run the ball against the Cincinnati team. I think
Cincinnati can run the ball against Buffalo. What's the difference?
I mean, these are two of the worst 5 run defenses in the NFL. Right?
Yeah.
So this very well could look exactly like Sunday looked, where both teams are just running the ball down the field. But the only difference is, like, despite the fact that Josh Allen is Josh Allen, like, if the question were posed to you, Paul, like, who do you believe more could turn it up and get into a shootout? Is it Josh Allen, or is it Joe Burrow 2 weeks off of the IR, but he's got a full complement of weapons? Like, let's say that Higgins and Chase both go, right? Like, who do you trust more in a shootout at this point in time? This Bills offense or the Cincinnati offense that you're getting?
Yeah. I mean, to me, I've watched not great defenses figure out Buffalo this year, right? And that's sort of like, I'm not here to get into a boat race with Cincinnati because, again, they're 4-8, but that's also including the fact they lost a 5-point game to the Bears. They lost a 1-point game to the Jets. They lost a 2-point game, or they won a 2-point game to the Steelers. Like, they're honestly just a couple points away from having 6 wins. Like, this is a better football team than their record indicates. But I have no interest in getting into a boat race with Cincinnati. I don't. I do not want to do that. You're going to be in Buffalo. We'll see what the weather's like. I know that there's supposed to be some snow coming this week in the South Towns. We'll see what happens, but I can't imagine it having a massive effect on the game. But I have absolutely no interest in getting in a boat race with Cincinnati. We've seen what that looks like, and I'm just not a fan, right? Like, you're going to this secondary against Chase and Higgins. No thanks, man. Like, no thanks. Let's run it 154 times on the ground and give them 4 possessions all game. Like, that's where my mind is.
Like, context matters, right? Like, they forced 5 turnovers against Baltimore, right? So, like, you would like to hope that the Bills are not going to turn the ball over 5 times, and you would like to believe that, like, your defense is going to be able to fall down in front of somebody and keep them from torching you. But weather right now, 25 and sunny, like, advantage question mark. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if there's an advantage there.
I don't think there is.
And we've seen Cincinnati come into Buffalo with snow on the ground and absolutely embarrass the Buffalo Bills. Right?
That was
I remember
so
the playoff
bad.
game. I remember the divisional game, and like, that was a rough look. So the question that I'm going to have coming into this game, like, and I think some of it will depend on Higgins, like, whether he plays or not. But what will be interesting is, this is a game where, if you're McDermott, like, in the past we've seen him do this, where you just let Benford follow Chase around the field.
Come on.
I mean, they did it, but they used to do it with Douglas, right? Like, they did it with Douglas when they had questions on the other side of him. I'm not sure the questions have been answered. If Higgins doesn't go, I think that's your best bet, is you put Benford on because he's long, he's big, like, he can run. You put a safety over the top, and you kind of hope that Chase doesn't beat you. If Higgins goes, I think you just run straight defense. You just run your base defense, whatever side of the field they line up on. So I think the question really comes is, like, do you just say, if Chase is going to beat us, he's going to beat us. Like, we're going to throw our best guy out there at him. I'm not going to put a situation where he's the only receiver out there. Like, I will take my chances with Trey White on Yoshivas. I'm not taking my chances with Trey White on Jamar Chase. Like, that's like a fool's errand, I think.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
If you don't show that Benford's following him around early, I have a sneaking suspicion. I mean, if I would do it, if I was the offensive coordinator, I would just put out packages where that's all he's doing, is he's just avoiding Benford's side of the field, and, like, just good luck.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think you could call McDermott's bluff there, right? Like, I think you'll know early what the plan is. I will say that in a game that they absolutely beat the living piss off out of the Ravens because they won 32-14 this last week, Jamar Chase still had 14 targets.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's gonna get his, right? Like he's
Yeah.
gonna get his targets.
yeah.
There's no.
But like
there's,
Burrow threw 46 times in a game that they won by, double-digit points, like markedly. The game was over. It was markedly over, yet he still threw 46 times in the game.
Yeah, they were clearly
right?
getting him work, right?
Yeah,
Like they were clearly
right.
getting him try. I mean, he
Yeah.
was, and he wasn't a good 46 times either, right? I think he was
24 or 46. 24 or
Yeah.
46. Yeah.
Like so barely above 500 in
Yeah.
terms of his completion percentage. So
Yeah,
like, Burrow-
59.1 QBR.
Yeah, like
Dreadful.
Burrow looked rusty, to say the least.
Right.
But when you got a guy like Jamar Chase, like an easy slump breaker is just throwing the ball 20 times, right?
Big time.
So
Yeah, absolutely right. And I mean, when it comes to the pass rush of Cincinnati, again, I don't think there's anything really to write home about here. If it's not Trey Hendrickson, right? Like that pass rush is solely dependent on how healthy he is, and they got to get him back because again, they got to run the table here, in order to make the playoffs. It's just they don't have an option. Every game's must win, and that's a very dangerous team. So, what will we see? I'm not entirely sure. I'm not looking forward to it. I've run out of hope. And I've filled with fear and trepidation when it comes to Sunday, and it's a 1:00 game, so party hard.
Ruined early.
Yeah, party hard. What are your tailgate plans for the 1:00 game?
So I'm actually not going to this game.
Oh,
interestingly enough, I know. Yeah. So Drew with Rock Power Report is always there. So if anybody's going to the game, make sure you go to Doc's Lot. Check out the tailgate that Drew and Chris put on for for Rock Power Report. And it's going to be a decent day out, right? It's going to be cold, 25 degrees, looks like high of, but it's going to be, sunny, and hopefully that weather sticks. But yeah, I mean, I worry about this game, Paul, because like we've seen this game. We saw it a few weeks ago when they played the Dolphins, right? Like the Dolphins had nothing going for them. They were in win. I mean, they're still in win mode, right? And they're winning. Mm-hmm. But you see a team in Buffalo who, like, you could make an argument like they don't need this game, right? Of their games that they've got left on their schedule for Buffalo, like you could make the argument that Buffalo doesn't need this game, right? Yeah. They've still got Patriots, got to have it. You got the Jets at the end of the year, you got to have it. Eagles game later in the year. I mean, I don't know if you need that one, but that's a game you want to win, right? Because that's a litmus test type of football game.
Sure.
So you've got like the Bengals and the Browns, and like you probably need to win one of the two to make it to the playoffs. And like I worry about that because I worry whether Sean McDermott is going to be able to get this team up and ready to go. And a team like Cincinnati, who just got their guy back, who has to win out, who's got everything in front of them, who won't have any. They won't have any results before that game kicks off, right? There's no way for them to be eliminated before kickoff.
Correct,
because the AFC North is such a shit show. Like, they've got a lot to play for, and they've got a lot of guys that are really good at football. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, like, those guys are good. Noah Fant is dangerous as a tight end. Like, we've seen him have big games before. If T. Higgins goes, like, there's a lot of guys that can ball on that team. And if Buffalo comes in flat, like this game could be out of reach before they finally start to turn it on, and that's a concern of mine.
Well, and that's the other part, right? I've yet to see a 60-minute Buffalo Bills football game this year, right? Like I've yet to see
Tampa,
it.
They struggled early, right?
Yeah,
and Josh still had a monster game, and he struggled early.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. Like that tone was set early in that game, and Buffalo was just chasing their tail the whole game. They were playing from behind what felt like the entire game. I do disagree with you. When you're 2 games behind the division leader, you got to have every game. You can't drop conference games, right? So I do disagree with you here. I think this is a game you have to have. Does your season end because you don't win it? No, but I just don't think you keep dropping conference games, and you're 2 games behind the Patriots, right? So, like, if you can just pray for rain and hope the Patriots drop one before you play them the following week, like, that's an ideal scenario because you can get back and one up, right? And kind of even the score there. But you can't just keep losing conference games, because you're going to lose. Their best case scenario is you're is your, well, not best case, but a likely scenario is that you end up with a similar or same record as the Patriots. You're even up division games. Now, like you can't lose conference games. Like you just can't keep losing conference games. So I do respectfully disagree with you there.
That's fair. Speaking of games like that that we're talking about for next week, games that come into play when it comes to playoff seeding, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got some divisional games that are going to be really interesting, right? You've got the Steelers and the Ravens, and that is for first place in the AFC North. There's no way to shake that out.
Those two teams, I just think the AFC North is so funny because the AFC South has been such garbage for so long, and it's just like it's moved north. Yeah, I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, the team that moves one game above 500 will be winning the AFC North. Just let that set in, right? The team that through 14 weeks, 13 games is at 7-6.
Yeah,
will be leading the AFC North. So that game obviously has playoff implications from a divisional perspective. You're not chasing either of those teams at the conference level. They're chasing you at that point on the below you looking up. Texans, Chiefs. That's another big one, right? And I kind of feel like Paul, I want the Texans to win because that probably puts the nail in the coffin of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
On the other side of things, the Texans are a game back, really a half game back, right? They're a half game back of that last playoff spot, and I say that because they're a game back with a game in hand because they beat you head to head. So from a Bills perspective, I don't know, do I believe that the Chiefs will run the table? Probably not. But when I look at their schedule, Houston's probably the best team on their schedule to beat them, unless you trust Denver or Los Angeles to get it done, and I don't know that I trust either one of those teams to win.
Oh, Denver is the worst team in the league.
That team's incredible, man.
It's unbelievable.
It seems like the AFC as a whole. I'm just waiting. Every team I go through on the list, and this is the Bills included, right? I'm just waiting for the wheels to come off of every single one of these football teams. Legitimately, the Bills could come in as the 7th seed, and you can make the argument they're the best football team on that conference playoff bracket.
Right.
Right. Nobody trusts Daniel Jones. Nobody should trust Daniel Jones. Nobody trusts Bo Nix, nor should they. We're talking about a one game above 500 AFC North winner. So Steelers, Ravens, okay, Bills have beaten both of them at full strength, you can argue.
Yeah.
And then you get into the Chargers and the Jaguars. What are we talking about here? So Paul, for your perspective, who are you rooting for? Is it Houston or is it Kansas City?
I'm willing to take my chances with Houston, right? Yeah. And here's the one thing that I did talk about. We talked about it before the season. I said, listen, if the Bills are going to go and win a Super Bowl, you have to beat the Chiefs in that path. Otherwise, the conversation never changes between the Bills and the Chiefs, right? There's no change in the guard. There's no, if the Chiefs don't make the playoffs and the Bills happen to win the Super Bowl that year, the narrative is going to be, well, you just caught the Chiefs on an off year. That's the only reason the Bills won is because the Chiefs weren't there. They didn't play 17 games to determine whether they're going to make it or not, right? But the big part of me wants the Chiefs in the playoffs, so you have a chance to slay that dragon. But I don't think the way the bracketing would work, looking at how the AFC East is playing out, I don't think you're going to get your shot at the Chiefs along the way. So at that point, I'd rather just have Houston, right? I think Buffalo's a significantly better team than Houston. So I'll take the significantly better, less well-coached team in the playoffs, right? Yeah. I'm fine with that.
Another big game, Indianapolis and Jacksonville. So that is for the AFC South lead, as well as the team. So if the Bills win, then the winner of Jacksonville, Indianapolis will be the leader in the South, and the loser will be the 7th seed. So that's kind of how that plays out from a seeding perspective. And then the other one that we want to pay attention to is it's going to be Philadelphia and the Chargers. And that's really just seeding is where that comes into play. So you kind of want to Philly win there, give the Chargers a little bit of a bump. Now you're competing, you're not fighting with 3 teams for, the 3 playoff spots. You're fighting with, 2 teams for 3 playoff spots, and you're kind of in a better situation there. So, I think those are the kind of the games you have to keep an eye on. And then obviously you're always watching what New England's doing, but New England has a bye week. They have a late bye week, so they're off next week. So
Right.
after this game that looks like they're going to win here against the Giants, New England kind of gets to sit back and watch the chaos unfold next week.
Yeah, the Giants, they just suck so bad. Like, can teams be absorbed into each other just to create one team, and then we could like draft a team from the Canadian Football League? Like, I'm just so tired of the Giants being terrible, the Jets being terrible. There's just so many poverty franchises in this in this league. Can we just like kick one out and bring one up from the CFL? Like at some point, they do it in soccer. That's what they do in soccer.
Yeah, you bring Ohio State up and send
Ohio State. All the players are paid now, so I guess it's fair, right?
Yeah,
they're all paid athletes now, so I suppose it's fair.
What? Take Ohio State next year. Let them keep Malik Neighbors. Let them keep Kayvon Thibodeau, and like the rest of it's just run with them, right? Whoever wins the national championship, they get to poach 3 players from the pro team, and then they get to move up. The other team moves down.
You're treating this like a guillotine league in fantasy football?
League. Yep, vampire
like
league.
A guillotine league. So Ryan, before we wrap up, because we're at the 48-minute mark, we will get to the roast session. So I will do the timer for that because Mario's been piss poor at making sure the roast session happens.
On the roast.
Yeah, big time slacking. Looking at the roster, right, and looking where things are going, is there any player on the, any player that's out there that you think makes an impact that's on the roster that maybe hasn't gotten the snaps yet in order to make that impact? Or is there a player on the practice squad that you think, if somebody goes down, this is a critical player or name to know? Because you're walking into playoff football here soon if the Bills can keep it together. And the reality is football is a game of attrition. So at some point, you're going to be talking about somebody you didn't expect to see in a Bills uniform or somebody who's been in a uniform all season that you just, you haven't had a need to talk about. So is there anybody on this team that is the big watermark for we are in deep shit? Let's all put our faith in name of Bills player.
Yeah, I think the name that comes to mind, and it's because of this Joey Bosa injury, is going to be Javon Solomon. And I think it's going to be a matter of can Javon Solomon do enough so that this defense can keep its head above water without its primary pass rusher? Because let's be honest, Greg Rousseau, I think we've seen the best of Greg Rousseau, right? Yeah. And it's a marginally once in a while impact guy. Who's going to make a couple plays. AJ Epinesa is what he is. He's a solid defensive end. He's going to kind of set the edge. He's going to get his hands up. He's going to knock balls down. So Epinesa is what he is. I think the question is who's going to be the impact pass rusher without Joey Bosa on the field? And I think Javon Solomon is the likely one who's going to benefit, obviously, because Landon Jackson's out, Michael Hoyt's out. They don't have another defensive end. And I can't imagine that they're going to keep putting Daquan Jones at defensive end and let him keep rushing the passer. That's cute in theory, but when you have an entire week to prepare, you have to have a better option than that, right? So I think Javon Solomon on the defensive side of the football is a guy to keep an eye on, and less so is he going to come out and turn into this double-digit sack guy? I don't think that's the case, but can he mitigate the loss of Joey Bosa enough to help this defense just kind of keep doing what they're doing and what they're being successful on? The other thing, and Shivas brings it up in the chat, and I don't know if I pronounced that right, but we still haven't seen Big Game Gabe yet, and they're targeting him, right? Gabe Davis is a guy who can go off. We've seen it multiple times before in the past. So, is it a situation where when Josh needs to go sicko mode, is that the guy he's looking for? Because Khalil Shakir has been disappointing over the last couple of weeks. Dawson Knox does not look like he's got the same rapport that he's had with Allen in the past. I don't know if Allen is finally starting to figure out that he's worthless out there unless he's bluffing. So with Dalton Kincaid coming back, do you start to see Dalton Kincaid and Jackson Hawes a little bit more versus Kincaid and Knox on the field at the same time? Because Hawes is proving that he's a regular guy that can go out and make catches and actually be a good tight end while also blocking. Yeah. So, those are two names. I think Gabe Davis is the one to keep an eye on the offensive side of the football, only because it's a guy we haven't seen yet, right? Because otherwise my answer would have been, well, Kincaid's getting ready to come back, so that should help the offense. And then defensively, I think Javon Solomon has to be the name with the Bosa injury, because we'll see how long he's out for.
So I was teeing this up for you solely for your Shaq Lawson take. I just want to let you know
You should have
this
known
whole
better after our
question
phone
was totally
call.
about Shaq Lawson.
Yeah.
So right position, wrong guy. The truth of the matter is, if you see Shaq Lawson on the field, terrible things have happened to this roster.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like terrible things. You should not be excited to see Shaq Lawson. It means bad things have happened. I would imagine another injury to defensive end, and that's when you see Shaq Lawson. But he's still weeks away from being in condition to actually play. I think they learned their lesson with Mecole Hardman. I think they learned their lesson. A reminder of you could say that you've been staying in shape, but playing games is different than staying in shape. So I think they learned their lesson with Hardman. Another interesting thing was the return game was actually pretty decent. The return game for the Bills has been pretty solid, and you just have backup running backs in there. Ray Davis looked great. Ray Davis looked great against the Steelers. That's the Ray Davis I remember. Mind you, right? That Steelers team was pretty beat up by that point. They were pretty tired. By the time Ray Davis started
early in the game, though, he had a couple big carries early in the game. I almost wonder, I wonder, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about it. Does him returning kicks, does that help from just a on the field, running back type of situation?
Because I feel like it has to, right?
It should, right? Because it's a lot more about setting up your blocks and finding creases and kind of making those, making those quick lateral moves, all the things that you have to do as a running back. He hasn't had that opportunity really, because it's Cooks and it's Johnson, right? So maybe him returning kicks and getting some volume in that situation, maybe that's helped. I don't know.
It's like a cheap way to get him touches. Yeah, it's a cheap way to generate those touches.
One of the media guys that cover this team actually ask interesting questions for once, and maybe ask that instead of just what did you see on that third down play that made you feel like you could make that play?
Right.
I don't know. That's just a random thought that popped into my head.
Yeah, I like that. All right, Ryan, so we're going to wrap it up here. I am going to put time on the clock for the roast session. So the roast session, let's see, time for the roast session. So again, you guys know the deal with the live chat. If you're watching this on the rewatch, my condolences. So you guys know how this works in the live chat. So we got 3 minutes on the timer. I don't know why Mario made it 3 minutes. That feels like an absolute eternity to me. And let's see, Ryan, why did you decide not to go to this game? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point now where I'm kind of in load management mode. I'm heading to the stadium for the last game of the year. Beyond that, I mean, I've got kids and work and all that kind of stuff that comes with that, and it's just gotten to the point where it's I might as well be miserable at home than miserable at the stadium with this team. So.
Are you thinking about? I'm just curious, right? Are you thinking about how much you could sell your tickets for every game for the remainder of the season, because it's the last one at the stadium? Have the dollars got to you yet?
Yeah, yes, the dollars have gotten to me, and basically I sold just the Bengals and the Eagles games, and I paid for my tickets for next season. Not the PSLs, but I paid for the tickets. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Just for context, right?
Wow.
and that was part of it too, right? Part of it was it's difficult to pass that up when you have the opportunity to bankroll next year's tickets in the new stadium just by selling 2 games. So.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, so let's see here. Dizzy says Paul is on Tim Hortons Wi-Fi right now. Hey, listen, you be gentle with Tim Hortons Wi-Fi. We used to do this post-game show from a Tim Hortons for 3 years. So I want to point out that we ran on Tim Hortons Wi-Fi on this channel for 3 years. Let's see, Mario doing his best Keon Coleman impression. I'm assuming that means he's benched. Ryan, that's the worst Spider-Man suit I've ever seen. It is actually very Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Yeah, it does kind of get that look, right? Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and apparently I look like Alicia Keys. I guess the hat.
That's interesting.
And And Paul says, where's the big guy that likes to talk about his high school quarterback career? And does he called Mario is our very own Uncle Rico. I do want to point out Rock Power Report was in the chat and said this show is better without Mario. So that was in there. That was in the chat earlier. I don't know if you noticed
I'm
that.
sure that was Chris, knowing those two. I don't think Drew is sober
Oh,
enough
yeah.
at this point because they did their live earlier tonight, so I don't think he's sober.
Yeah,
enough
no,
to-
Gorilla Thumbs over there isn't writing sentences on the internet. Yeah, no, I very much doubt that was Drew. That probably was Chris. All right, so we've hit time. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hashtag Sports. We will see you guys following the Bengals game on Monday. As per the usual, anything you need, don't be afraid to hit the Gmail account. It's hashtagsports@gmail.com or hashtagsportsradio@gmail.com. And then, of course, thanks to our sponsor, Mr. Rogers Homes. And Ryan, thanks for joining. Mario, enjoy the night off, my friend. Okay, we will talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.
See you guys.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Hello, fellow Bills fans. Sean Rogers, realtor and lead of the Mr. Rogers Homes team. Did you know that real estate is one of the best ways to build wealth? And right now is one of the best times to own an investment property in Arizona?
If you're interested, reach out to me. We'll have a confidential, no obligation question and answer conversation. You have absolutely nothing to lose, possibly everything to gain.
As always, God bless America and go Buffalo!